right, I am back with another entry in my all too beloved Destiny 2 versus Diablo 4 series, where I compare games that, according to some, have nothing in common, but they do have a lot in common, and they very much are competitors, at least judging by my Twitch list, which has a ton of Destiny content creators now playing Diablo 4. They are both looters. I'm not going to go through this whole thing again. They're competitors. I don't care what you say. Today, I wanted to focus on seasons because we just had the big seasonal presentation from Diablo 4 yesterday. It was a developer, not really a round table. I don't know. They're all sitting in a line. And this is the kind of thing we used to get with Destiny, and now we sort of get blog posts or like pre-rendered videos. And I did see some people, I think I even said this myself, where it's like, it's nice to see the Diablo team like so passionate and like so, into presenting the season. That said, I think we do have to acknowledge that this is like year 9 of Destiny as a franchise, and this is season 1 of Diablo. So, it's not exactly a one-to-one comparison. It is interesting to see the differences between the seasonal models. The biggest difference is what is included with the season. So the seasons are effectively the same price. Well, okay, Destiny just raised their prices to $12 a season, although it's really only $10 if you get the $100 bundle or whatever at the beginning of the year. Diablo's Battle Pass is also $10. However, it's about what is not in that $10 for Diablo. The entire content of the season is free. So, well, you have to start a new character. We've been over that debate before. All of the stuff you can do in the season is actually free. So that includes the new seasonal storyline. This is about the malignant corruption across the land, and you got to help this priest guy kill it. You fight all these malignant monsters. You run malignant dungeons. You level up your character, and in the interim, you get these malignant hearts that each have like kind of legendary powers. And you find gear with different color slots that you put them in, and you kind of get these wild builds. As you progress the battle pass through a bunch of challenges, which like level 1 challenges are like find 15 Gallovine, and I'm sure later challenges are like clear a level 50 Nightmare Dungeon, and like I'm sure they get more advanced over time. Those are kind of like Destiny seasonal challenges in which they give you big chunks of XP to move through the battle pass. The battle pass itself has 27 free tiers, and there are character boosts in those free tiers. They're kind of minor things where it's like increased gold find or increased potion duration, and the biggest one is probably like increased heart drop rate. But those are all in the free section. Those are not in the paid section and do not give you bonuses. There are 67 paid tiers. However, those are all cosmetics. There are a couple cosmetics in the free section, but like what they showed was like a t-shirt essentially, and then the cool armors are at the end of the battle pass, which you might expect. But the premium tiers of the battle pass, the premium battle pass, is the thing that costs $10. You are not paying $10 for the seasonal storyline, for the corrupted heart mechanic. That is all built in to the free part of the season. So essentially they're just asking you to pay $10 for a whole bunch of cosmetics. Given how expensive the store cosmetics are, that is a pretty good deal. And then I think we have to look at this in contrast to Destiny. You really cannot do essentially anything in a Destiny season unless you buy the pass. You may be able to do like the very base intro quest where it's like run a salvage and run a deep dive. But after that, in order to farm that stuff, in order to actually get, loot, you need to buy the season. There is a free stretch of the battle pass, so you can get through a good chunk of that for free, but it's not a lot of stuff, and most of the actual bonuses and things are in the paid track. And they do have some things that are valuable, like the new deep site activation currency. There's at least 3 of those in the free track, but the main difference is you are paying $10 for the seasonal content. it's certainly a large difference, and it allows Diablo to have much better onboarding, I think, because anyone can jump into a season. And one benefit of the level 1 character system is that everyone will be on the same playing field every season. That's something they pitched as a good thing. This all depends on your desire to re-level a character. That I know that's not going to be super appealing for some people, and that's something I've said that I think people are going to be a little skeptical of going into that. But I have all these characters I haven't built yet, and I am going to start building those in a season because they will transfer to the Eternal Realm after. Destiny, you are essentially behind to a certain extent if you've taken a lot of time off, and then you have to power up and like get a lot of the old gear that is now good. Like if if you don't buy an old season, you cannot get the gear from the old season. Whereas when Diablo is adding new gear, they're adding new uniques and legendaries to the overall pool. So if you just own the base game, you will get those legendaries and uniques dropping in all of the realms, in the seasonal realm, in the eternal realm, all of it. Whereas in Destiny, you're not going to be getting essentially any of this new loot unless you have bought the season, and that is usually going to be the only place you can find that loot until maybe a year later, if like Banshee starts selling stuff or Dares of Eternity starts dropping stuff. But it's like impossible to target farm at that point. And then of course in Destiny we also have the dungeon pass, which is sold separately. It's $20 for 2 dungeons, only one of which is in a given season, and then the next one is going to be 2 seasons from now. So it's a lot of monetization. Then of course there's Eververse and all that. So am I like just totally roasting Destiny here and saying Diablo is like totally so much better? Not quite. Okay, so I think we have to give Destiny a lot of leeway here, or at least some amount. Well, we have not played a Diablo season yet. I fundamentally do not believe that the content of a Diablo season is going to be anywhere close to the total volume of content we are getting in a Destiny season. Hold your PvP and Gambit jokes, as obviously those are not getting any additions really at all. Like one new map, maybe, whatever, no new Gambit maps, obviously. But the PvE content, we have, let's just even look at this season. We have a seasonal storyline, which includes a ton of voice work, tons and tons of voice work. I would be amazed if there was any voice work past the main new character in the storyline and maybe our character saying some words. But in Destiny now we have 5, 6, 7 characters talking a season, loads of dialogue there, cutscenes, whether they be those like kind of animated cutscenes but not really, but also actual cutscenes. I would be surprised if Diablo had more than a couple, and they were that kind of, the trailer was the kind of like sort of animated but not really style. So I doubt we're going to see like some wild Blizzard cinematics for individual seasons, or if we do, it won't be every season. And I would not imagine the seasonal storyline of Diablo is going to be that long. I think it'll certainly be longer than like a basic blue quest, but I don't think it will be anywhere near like an entire act storyline. Like we already know it's in existing areas of the map, and they are not adding new areas of the map for seasonal storylines, whereas Destiny builds new arenas and stuff like that kind of every season. So I think the story is going to just be sort of a gateway into the seasonal grind, which is building your character and like getting these hearts and all that, and fighting these corrupted monsters, which are just sort of modified versions of existing monsters. Destiny has that problem too, but I would be surprised if the free part of the Diablo season, which is like all of it essentially, is going to be close to the volume of what you get in a Destiny season. And as such, I kind of understand why Destiny would be charging the money for all of the actual content in the season. I certainly have been of the position that I think Destiny really needs to offer more for free, more for the free-to-player market, better onboarding for stuff like that. The Dungeon Pass, I hate. I think that's a terrible addition. However, I do think we have to recognize the difference, at least right now. Maybe Diablo seasons will get more elaborate in time, because Destiny seasons certainly got more elaborate in time, because it's just not quite the same. And I think Bungie has scaled up to the point where at least the PvE side is producing content that is much bigger than anything they produced before. Yes, we can always cite Menagerie as the best seasonal activity ever when they had 2 support studios, but we're getting activities now that are almost as big as Menagerie, and we're certainly getting 5 times the amount of actual story content. It used to be like the story content was like a lore book and like some lines of dialogue within the mission, and like that was it. That was the seasonal story. It has wildly expanded since then. You might not like every seasonal story Destiny does, but it is significantly better than it was, and it's also continuing an ongoing narrative. Diablo's not doing that. Diablo said they're doing kind of self-contained stories. This is not a continuation of the Lilith and Arius whatever storyline from the base game. That will be expanded upon in actual expansions, and we know at least 2 of those are planned. It is certainly possible that Diablo expansions end up being more expansive and more relevant and more interesting than some Destiny 2 expansions. Obviously, Lightfall struggled in that regard, and Diablo's expansions in the past have really transformed the game and been excellent, whether it's Lord of Destruction or Reaper of Souls. That's a conversation for another day, but the ultimate point is Diablo will be easier to jump into a season and to onboard and start a new character for the season, whether it's your favorite class or a new alt. Most of that is free. The only thing you're paying for is a slate of cosmetic stuff in the Battle Pass, which, if you don't really care about cosmetics, you don't have to spend anything at all for the season. You just play it. They're really just trying to do player engagement rather than raking in player revenue. This could change over time, but this is the way it is now. Destiny, meanwhile, is charging you money for an entire season, essentially all of the content for the season, but it is a much larger pool of content. It is a much greater scale than what I believe Diablo is about to produce with its season. So it's not exactly just the situation of Diablo seasons are free, Destiny seasons are paid, like Destiny sucks. It is more complicated than that, and I think we have to recognize the scale at which Destiny is doing seasons now, and I don't think that will necessarily be comparable to Diablo with its one probably not that long storyline and its one seasonal mechanic and some modified enemies. Not that they're not, working hard on it. I just think it's going to be a bit of a different animal, at least for a while, at least until maybe seasons get scaled up. But we can look at Diablo 3 seasons, and they're still not quite what Destiny's doing, certainly. So that, I think, is an interesting point of comparison of what you want to engage with. Maybe it's just kind of too exhausting to engage with Destiny, as you do feel like there's so much stuff you have to do to get the most out of a season, whereas Diablo, you can kind of do whatever you want, and who cares, because it's free. But I'm curious how avid Destiny seasonal players will react to Diablo seasons. So anyway, those are my thoughts on all that. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.